soul survivors. If you're wondering if your narcissist will change, I would like to talk to you about the Green Light Project that was in the city of Detroit. So I was going through TikTok. I see this lady, she's got horrible black eyes. And I had reached out to her about a podcast. And I wanted to do a little bit more information about this Green Light Project because that was one of her hashtags. Now, this is where there are cameras that are installed. It costs the gas stations or fast food restaurants about $5,000 to get increased lighting. They're also responsible for the live stream. And there's this huge room with all these monitors where the police are actually watching live stream of these businesses. And so I'm doing a little bit more research and I come across this one where the guy has a torch coming into a gas station and he sets the place on fire. And I'm a burn victim, so that kind of like hits hard. So I'm doing a little bit more research, like what is this story about? And it does use facial recognition. So there was some backlash that since it is in the inner city of Detroit, that it might be unfair to different minorities. And also it's really interesting on how facial recognition software does recognize improperly the darker skinned people, whether it's like African Americans or it was Eastern Asia, I believe, but it has a higher incidence than Eastern Europeans. So I'll do more research on that. But the purpose of this is recidivism. Now, my initial degree is in criminal justice. I've taught criminal law at Grand Valley State and I've attended Cooley Law School. So recidivism, where people repeat, different states in the United States where I live have either capital punishment or life sentences. We're not all the same in all the states, but they notice that capital punishment is not a deterrent for people committing murder. So these people who came to Detroit or lived in Detroit, there are green lights on these businesses to alert people that they are being watched. That man still set that place on fire. That woman still got beat up. They stated that it really didn't have a difference in crime. And it did cause a little bit lower in carjacking, but we also know different kind of crimes go in different kind of waves. So it was in 2016 that they did it. They did it for about a year. It was $1,200 million for this project. So extremely expensive and not really making a difference. And the crimes were horrendous. It wasn't people just trying to get like some money. It was setting the place on fire to where there's, luckily that guy escaped. First degree burns. Like I said, I'm a burn victim. First degree is kind of reddening. Second degree is when you start getting blisters and it starts going deeper. Third degree is when it goes down to the bone. So he had first degree, kind of like like a sunburn, not a bad sunburn, but uncomfortable sunburn. So he survived. But when we talk about narcissists, will they change? They have to want to. If they don't want to, it's inherent in them. So we talk about the capital punishment. Is that a deterrent? We talk about the Green Light Project. Is that a deterrent? All of these are showing ineffective. So if you set your boundaries with the narcissist, unfortunately, it's going to be ineffective, or it might delay it a little bit where they might need to be a little bit more sneaky. So if you were to say something like, if you cheat on me, I'm out the door, it might postpone it. But if that's inherent in them, they're just going to get sneakier. So somebody has to truly want to do that. And a lot of times love and commitment and loyalty and all the good traits, there is hope for some people. There is hope. But when it's inherent and due to the stressors and little things in our childhood, you see certain kids where you tell them not to do something. Some will listen, some will be tempted, some will obey, some will disobey. And same in adults. Some people are like, yeah, okay, well, back in the day when weed was illegal, you can't do it, it's illegal. Other people are like, fuck that. to where they're going to do what they want to do, whether it's legal, illegal, they're just either going to be sneakier or say, fuck you and do it in your face. So with a narcissist, can they change? Can anybody change unless they want to? And they also have to recognize, kind of like dieting. You can go on a diet, think you're doing things the right way. I see a lot of times people eating a salad, and you think a salad, you know, of course you're going to lose weight if you're eating salads every meal, but they're loading it up with bacon, they're loading it up with, you know, high calorie dressing and on and on and on, all the good stuff. So it's not effective. You have to really know what you're doing to do it correctly. And is the narcissist aware of what they're doing wrong? Just like the diet. Are you aware that you're using, you know, high calorie things when you should be adding carrots and cucumbers instead? And are you willing to do the sacrifice? Give that bacon up, switch it out for some grilled chicken breast. Same with the relationship. Do you know what you're doing wrong? If you try to change things, you know, maybe now you're bringing home boxes of chocolate or a new outfit, or trying to spice things up in the bedroom. So instead of having the connection, you're just buying lingerie. Are you doing the right kind of work? So the narcissist, they don't know what they're doing wrong. And when you try to explain it to them, they don't want to hear it, or they take it the wrong way. It's this never ending cycle where you almost can't get through to them. Also, when you see people in a triggered state, their mind doesn't process. Their mind does not process. And you have to de-escalate. And with a narcissist, a lot of times, eventually we get so frustrated that we're like, no, this is what I'm trying to say. And now we want to be heard. And it just gets into this vicious loop of not resolving the issue. Have you noticed with your narcissist, things do not get resolved, or if it feels like they're resolved, do they uphold their promises? They do a lot of future faking. Sometimes they don't even know what they said, because they'll say what they think they need to say, but it doesn't mean that they're going to do it. Like, oh yeah, I know I got to get a job, or I know I got to do this, but they don't do it, or they put it back on you. They do a lot of projecting, and over time, it causes brain damage. Physiological responses can cause cancer, diabetes, increased blood pressure, heart problems, difficulty sleeping, problems with eating. And it's this vicious cycle, and it will knock you down. And when you are knocked down, because you can never get your feet on a stable ground again, that, you know, we start accepting breadcrumbs, or we're trying harder. And the more that we try, the more we're seen as invaluable. And it's really weird how that happens, to where you start to be seen as a weak person instead of a loving person. That when you give, they start to see what you're capable of. And if you did this one time, they expect that plus some. They will push you up and up to where you are trying absolutely everything, walking on eggshells. And what we see with that green light project and all the deterrents aren't really effective. Do you guys live in an area where you cannot use cell phones while you're driving? How many people still do that? How many people are still breaking the law? We have seatbelt laws. So maybe there is some positivity that comes from it, but it's few and far between. And is it consistent? So sure, maybe people aren't texting or calling while they're driving, but do they do it every now and then? Do they do it when they met somebody special and they just don't want to wait till they get home? Or are they too busy with their lives? So you can see patterns in human behavior. People who care about society and care about others will put that first over their needs. Also their own safety, where they logically think about things. Is this safe for me to even do for myself? Narcissists are impulsive. They are dismissive, so they don't want to hear the reasoning behind it, or they will justify something to fit their own needs. But I just saw the connections with, all my studies of criminal justice and people's patterns of behavior. And with prisoners who go into incarceration, it takes 7 years to break them. After 7 years, it's a lot easier to control them. They become accustomed to the pattern. They become reliant on the food, the schedule. It's almost like they become helpless. And it's hard for them to reintegrate into society a lot of times because they are so broken down into routine. And as we are in these relationships, isn't it interesting? It's 7 years. 7 years. What's with the 7-year itch with relationships? Also, our body goes through a full cellular regeneration after 7 years. Biblically, it's supposed to be God's number. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. 6 is supposed to be the devil's number. But the highest rates of divorce are around years 7 and 8. 8 is usually 7 years, gets bad, and by the 8th year is when the divorce goes through. Also, 1 and 2 are difficult. But the green light shows people don't change. People don't care who's watching. People will find a way to do what they want to do. And when you're in that triggered state, you don't think logically. I told you guys about my friend who was murdered by her husband. I don't even know if it's been a full year, but in that triggered state, I don't think he wanted to shoot her. And maybe they had problems, but you get into a state where you're not thinking logically. And the narcissist, whenever we try to talk to them, they get into that triggered state, and whatever it is that we're saying, they take the wrong way. So there's that narcissistic injury. When they get that narcissistic injury, no matter how small it is, you can get the silent treatment, physical abuse, discard, and then they're like, oh, wait, I still want what I want. And so they'll come back and they'll say what they need to say. They're master manipulators. They know how to manipulate the system. I want to do more studies for you guys versus the psychopath and, sociopath and the dark triad, because I see a lot of us with certain different comments that you guys say. And this person to me might seem, maybe it's something different, or maybe it's more severe. And I was watching this one video about a murder where the guy killed his 15-week-old child. And just the way his facial expressions were, the history. Now, him, I don't know enough about to say who he is. He was addicted to meth. Drugs sometimes cause people to do things, but the way that they present as, I didn't do it, I'm innocent, and taking accountability, you don't see that. And how, certain people can trick lie detector tests. So if you're like, why was I such a fool? How did I not see these red flags? I'm such a dummy. Don't kick yourself so hard, don't beat yourself up over it, because a lot of times lie detectors can't even tell. A lot of times trained professionals don't see it, or they have some question. It doesn't seem right. So there are techniques to help see through the lies, but with a narcissist, it's different in their brain. It is different in their brain. So it's really difficult to pick up on the red flags because they don't have the physiological responses. They don't sweat or fidget as much because they don't care. And we react to the impulses in our brain. When we get uncomfortable, we might be like, or if you cover your mouth when you're lying, it's just certain things that people do. The narcissist doesn't do that, or the psychopath doesn't, and depends on how narcissistic the person is. So don't beat yourself up, but take this piece of advice. Do they change? Even with deterrence. Now, criminals, a lot of them are narcissistic, where it's all about them. They disregard authority or who it's going to hurt. Like, obviously, it's going to hurt the person inside the gas station, if you set it on fire, they don't care about, they don't think about the repercussions. So when a narcissist will cheat on you, they don't think about the repercussions. And when it comes time to think about the repercussions, just like that criminal, he's not gonna be like, oh my gosh, that man got first-degree burns. I hope he's okay. No, they're gonna be like, this fucking sucks. Now I gotta go to jail. All I did was this, and they could have helped me out. They didn't, cover my gas for me. They wanted me to pay for it, and I didn't have the money, and poor me. And if people would give me a job, and on and on and on. And they don't think that they almost killed someone, just like my late friend. And the things I saw when I was doing that research were so horrific. It was above and beyond. And crime is out of control. Selfishness is out of control. In your own home is where you should feel safest. And safety will let you thrive. But if you don't feel safe, that is a red flag. My friend should have taken those red flags, because she even said, if I don't get this truck home, he will kill me. And he killed her anyways. Stay safe. If I can help you with anything, please let me know. But the Green Light Project tells us about human behavior. Will the narcissist cheat again? If they want to.